Have you ever awakened to the painful realization that the child you once nurtured with love and unwavering support now barely listens to you? One moment, you were the indispensable caregiver, and the next, your advice and experiences are brushed aside. After decades of investing time, money, and energy in your children, whether it was by driving them to practice, guiding them through life's ups and downs, or offering comfort during restless nights, the change can feel like a shock to your very core. In this transformed dynamic, you may notice subtle shifts, dismissive glances, eye rolls at your stories, and a tone that suggests your words have lost their value. Such behavior, though it might sting deeply, calls for a response that is measured rather than angry. As seen in the story of Martin, a man who refused to tiptoe around his children's disrespect, he discovered that a calm firmness, embodied in simple declarations like, "I will speak when you're ready to listen," held far more power than any heated argument ever could. His grown children initially protested, claiming he was overly sensitive. But Martin's steadfast resolve taught them that his opinions were not for debate, but for respectful engagement. He calmly removed himself from conversations when he was not treated with courtesy, and slowly his children learned that they needed to adjust if they wished to maintain a relationship with him. This is not just Martin's story. It reflects a common struggle experienced by many parents as their roles evolve. For instance, Elena, a remarkable woman who once stood as the pillar of her family and community, found herself in a similar predicament as her adult children began to dictate every aspect of her life. What started as small compromises, like letting them choose her dinner spots or schedule her day, soon grew into a complete disregard for her wisdom and opinions. Elena felt bewildered and hurt as she realized that years of self-sacrifice had quietly eroded the powerful voice she once possessed. Her journey taught her a vital lesson. The more you compromise your own needs for the sake of keeping the peace, the less genuine the love and respect you receive. This lesson is echoed repeatedly in these narratives. Whether it's Martin, Elena, or even George, the retired educator whose calm confidence won back the respect of his adult children. The message remains clear. Respect is not born of anger or desperate pleas for approval. It is cultivated through unwavering self-worth and clear boundaries. George, once a commanding figure in the classroom, found that his voice was disregarded at home. His children treated his well-meaning advice as mere background noise until he shifted his approach. Instead of resorting to raised voices and bitter arguments, he began to listen intently, speak softly, and let silence replace conflict. Over time, his children recognized the quiet strength in his demeanor, and respect gradually returned. Clara's story, too, illustrates this transformation. A retired nurse who loved her grandchildren dearly, Clara was hurt by the dismissive attitude of her adult daughter when she offered advice on health and nutrition. Tired of being shrugged off, Clara calmly declared that she would no longer share her professional insights unless they were truly valued. Though initially met with resistance, her daughter soon came to understand the depth of her mother's expertise and missed having that guidance. Through reinforcing her boundaries, Clara not only regained respect, but also rekindled a deeper bond with her family. The overarching lesson in these accounts is simple yet profound. If you continuously accept disrespect, it sets the standard for how others treat you. Whether it is by pausing a conversation or choosing to walk away from a situation that lacks civility, standing up for yourself is key. This isn't about harshness or severing ties. It's about affirming your self-worth so clearly that those around you are compelled to mirror that respect. Over time, as you hold firm to your boundaries, the people who truly care will adjust their behavior, leading to calmer, more meaningful exchanges. When your children witness you upholding your own value, they begin to view you with admiration rather than as a subordinate voice. Another aspect of reclaiming respect lies in recognizing the danger of unconditional enabling. Samuel's story provides a vivid example. Known for his boundless willingness to help, whether by lending money for a new car, rearranging his schedule for family get-togethers, or offering babysitting on short notice, Samuel's generous spirit was taken for granted. His children began to see his help as an entitlement rather than a gift, and when they needed him most, he found himself feeling isolated and unappreciated. Faced with this painful reality, Samuel made a decisive change. He would now help only when asked, and always on his own terms. Though his children were initially confused and even irritated, they gradually learned to value his assistance when they recognized that it was not endless. This pivot from overgiving to measured support not only restored respect, but also transformed the dynamic into one of genuine appreciation. At the heart of these lessons is the idea that true respect must be earned by first respecting oneself. It's a difficult truth for many loving parents who have long centered their lives around their children's needs. Whether it is Mary Ann, a widow in her late 70s, who had spent years prioritizing her children's needs over her own, or Nina, who had long waited by the phone, hoping for a call that never came. The stories show that rediscovering one's identity outside the role of a caretaker is essential. Mary Ann, for example, broke free from her routine of daily calls and unreciprocated attention by joining a book club, venturing on local travel excursions, and volunteering in her community. As she flourished independently, her children, noticing her renewed purpose, began to reach out with genuine interest. They no longer saw her solely as someone waiting by the phone, but as an individual with a vibrant, full life, a transformation that naturally restored respect. Similarly, Nina's journey from being a constant caregiver to a woman who embraced her own passions illustrates the power of self-reliance. After years of devoting herself entirely to her children, Nina realized that her happiness should not be dictated by their availability or approval. She enrolled in a literature course, embarked on weekend trips with friends, and took time for herself. As her focus shifted from dependence to self-enrichment, her children started to see her in a new light, admiring her independence and coming to respect the person she had become. The cumulative wisdom of these narratives suggests that while it may be difficult to break away from a lifetime of self-sacrifice, doing so is necessary for reclaiming your rightful place as a respected and cherished figure. It requires setting clear boundaries and cultivating a life that is not solely defined by your role as a parent. In every story, whether it is Martin's firm stance on respectful dialogue, Clara's insistence on valuing her professional insights, or Samuel's shift toward balanced giving, the common thread is the importance of self-respect. One of the most important insights is that you cannot force respect from anyone, not even from your own children. Respect is not a commodity that can be demanded by listing past sacrifices or pleading for recognition. It is a quality that is inspired by the way you live your life. By ceasing the chase for approval and instead validating your own worth, you set in motion a change that draws respect naturally. As you consistently embody calm confidence and enforce your boundaries, you shift the entire dynamic of your relationships. When you show that your happiness and identity extend beyond your children's needs, you invite them to see you as a multifaceted individual, rather than as someone solely defined by familial obligations. This realization leads to a broader understanding. Your children are not responsible for your emotional fulfillment. While the desire for their love and respect is natural, relying on their validation creates a fragile balance that can quickly tip into resentment and frustration. The moment they sense that your self-worth is contingent on their approval, the relationship suffers. Instead, by seeking emotional independence through hobbies, friendships, and personal growth, you demonstrate that you are whole and complete on your own. This independence is not a withdrawal from family life. Rather, it is an invitation for your children to appreciate you more fully as someone who lives with purpose and dignity. The narrative also emphasizes that setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, but one of necessary self-care. For instance, Edward, a retired entrepreneur known for his decisiveness in business, applied the same clarity at home. By calmly addressing interruptions and insisting on basic civility, Edward set a standard that his children eventually respected. The process of defining what behavior is acceptable and what is not may feel uncomfortable at first, but consistency in enforcing these boundaries proves to be transformative. It sends a clear message: I value myself, and I expect to be treated with the same consideration. As these boundaries are upheld time and again, the underlying message becomes one of mutual respect and appreciation. In summary, the journey toward reclaiming respect as a parent is multifaceted. It begins with a deep recognition that endless self-sacrifice does not breed respect, it erodes it. The stories of Martin, Elena, George, Clara, Samuel, Marianne, Nina, and Edward collectively underscore the necessity of standing firm in one's self-worth. Whether it is through speaking calmly, yet firmly when disrespected, setting clear boundaries that dictate how you should be treated, or pursuing a life that extends beyond the confines of familial obligations, the path to regained respect is marked by self-affirmation and emotional independence. Ultimately, these narratives illustrate that true respect is not something that can be forced by reminders of past sacrifices or endless caregiving. It is earned by living with purpose, by cultivating a sense of identity that is independent of others' validation, and by establishing boundaries that safeguard your dignity. When you stop seeking approval and instead focus on self-validation, your children will gradually come to see you in the same light. A respected, multifaceted individual with passions, interests, and a life that is truly worth admiring. As the video concludes, the final thought resonates clearly. If you find yourself feeling marginalized or disrespected by those you love, pause and reflect on what changes you can make. Ask yourself whether your actions and boundaries truly reflect the self-worth you possess. The answer may lie in embracing your independence, asserting your needs, and confidently leading by example. In doing so, you transform not only your relationship with your children, but also your own sense of fulfillment and joy. Thank you for joining in this reflection. What's one step you feel ready to take today in order to reclaim the respect you deserve? Your journey toward a life enriched by self-respect and authentic admiration is a path well worth taking. A path that begins with the simple act of believing in your own worth, living it out every day, and inspiring others to see you as the remarkable person you truly are. Ultimately, these narratives illustrate that true respect is not something that can be forced by reminders of past sacrifices or endless caregiving. It is earned by living with purpose, by cultivating a sense of identity that is independent of others' validation, and by establishing boundaries that safeguard your dignity. When you stop seeking approval and instead focus on self-validation, your children will gradually come to see you in the same light. A respected, multifaceted individual with passions, interests, and a life that is truly worth admiring. As the video concludes, the final thought resonates clearly. If you find yourself feeling marginalized or disrespected by those you love, pause and reflect on what changes you can make. Ask yourself whether your actions and boundaries truly reflect the self-worth you possess. The answer may lie in embracing your independence, asserting your needs, and confidently leading by example. In doing so, you transform not only your relationship with your children, but also your own sense of fulfillment and joy. Thank you for joining in this reflection. What's one step you feel ready to take today in order to reclaim the respect you deserve? Your journey toward a life enriched by self-respect and authentic admiration is a path well worth taking. A path that begins with the simple act of believing in your own worth, living it out every day, and inspiring others to see you as the remarkable person you truly are.